Is starting up a dental practice Nacho Nuts or NACHOTASTIC? This is Paul, Dr. Nacho Goodman with the president, Stephen Trutter of Ideal Practice, awesome friend, awesome sponsor. He's going to share with us some real value, the 3 elements to look for when researching demographics. Stephen, just orient our audience as to what you do in your daily dental life to make dentist dreams come true.
What we get to do is pretty awesome, Paul. Thanks for being here. I'm grateful to be here with the Nacho community. What we get to do, my team gets to do, is the greatest thing in the world, which is help young associates take that leap towards their own practice and for them to become fulfilled in practice ownership. And there's nothing better when they get that first patient through the door and they're like, wow, that was my favorite patient. And they get to realize maybe things that they've been waiting on for years that they didn't think was possible in private practice ownership. So we get the thrill to do it. I could talk hours about like the thrill, and it's the thrill that we get to be able to see these doctors get that thing and realize their vision.
Love it.
That is possible.
I mean, anyone who wants to check out, you guys do make dreams come true. You've helped dentists in Dental Nachos who started with us earlier in their career, and now, like the awesome Dr. Ashley Dawson, has their own practice. So many success stories. I know you have some tips to share with us on demographics. We do a 3-part mini series, but this is the first one. So tell us, what do you want to get across to the audience today? Somebody's watching and saying, hey, I'm thinking of starting up a practice. I've heard some stuff about it. There's a lot of irresponsible information out there. So I really want to deliver to our audience responsible information. So I'd love for you to share with us.
Well, thanks, Paul. Yeah, there is a lot of, yes, we call it the peanut gallery of like a lot of advice. Unfortunately, it's like anybody with a keyboard is like give a lot of advice. So the first thing I want to say when it comes to demographics is this: we don't need more reports. And for you that are probably sitting there today, young associates, or thinking about like, I got this report in my inbox. You're probably like, you looked it over and you're like, I don't even know what this means. If you're one of those associates, like, great, you're not alone. Where you get reports, it's stacks of paper, and you're like, I have numbers. But demographics isn't about that. It's not just about pursuing numbers and reports. So what I want to do is give great education today on 3 essential elements that are the most important elements that we guide our clients through. And these are essential elements that can help define the market that's best for you. So you can, I'll tell everybody, like, you got that report, just toss it out. We got something here for you. So here are the 3 elements. The first element that you have to consider when it comes to demographics is, I call it the element of desirability. What are the personal elements? So think about this. A report may say, the numbers say this is a great area, but what if you don't want to be there? The common question I get, Paul, is like, hey, Stephen, where's the best area to start up a practice? Okay, statistically, maybe somewhere in the middle of Nebraska, maybe your neighbor, Delaware, or somewhere like that. Exactly. But if you don't want to be in Nebraska, Delaware, or Alaska or somewhere, then don't go there.
And actually, I'm going to interject. I tell my wife, Stephen, I don't interrupt. I just interject with awesome ideas. But since I know the mindset of a lot of these dentists, and one of the things I've loved in running Dental Nachos, and I just bring this in, your morale matters. Not you, Stephen. The dentist morale matters. Not me, Stephen. The morale of the person owning the practice matters. And I think that's something that that we need to pay more attention to. So your tip there is desirability has to be where you want to be, or at least can travel to as well. So I like that.
Yeah. So think about things when you think about desirability even at the surface level. Is it the climate, the area of the country you want to be? If you've got family, you and I have kids. When we moved, it was like, where are the best schools? Okay, where do I want to be in conjunction to that? What about, like, what's the commute? Doctors I think everyone says, wow, if I can travel an hour to my practice, okay, that's a lie. No one wants to drive an hour to their practice. Right. So consider what your commute is going to look like, especially areas that are, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Miami, areas that have really bad traffic, Southern California, LA. Think about what that commute is. So you need to, most people say, tell me the best area to open a practice. I go, cool. Guess what? Decide what your life is first, and then draw the practice around that life. So determine the personal element first. That at least aims the compass. Because if you're going to go on a trip someplace, you just don't go to the agent and say, book me the best vacation ever.
Right, exactly. So I think that's I'm really glad you brought this up. So desirability is just an important point. It's a D word for demographics, where I think dentists do get, another D word. They like details. Oh, this is the best place. But like you said, if you don't want to be in Lincoln, Nebraska, it doesn't matter how great an opportunity is, you're not going to be happy there. So love that.
Yep, absolutely. The second element I always talk to is the data that supports that. And there is analytics. So I just don't say, oh, you want to go there? Rubber stamp it. Just go open a practice. There still needs to be data that supports the practice. So we are going to look at competition ratios. We are going to look at things like what are the trends in the marketplace and things like that. However, you have to look at numbers beyond numbers. In other words, you may go look at an area of the country, and this is kind of a spoiler alert, which is the highest ratios don't produce the best practices.
Right.
Some of our greatest success stories that we've been able to be a part of have been in areas where people have said, you shouldn't start up a practice there because the ratios aren't good. Okay, well, depends on what good is. Or is every dentist in that area doing the exact same brand of dentistry? The same.
I think that's an important point. I was just thinking as you're saying, the procedures, one thing I think that should be inspiring and motivating to dentists who want to open a practice or even acquire one. I know that's where is that what procedures do you do and how's that going to impact your future success? Because that's definitely not something that's going to be in a report. And that's why I think that's so important, because you're basically telling us that it's not always the best ratios, 1 to 3,000 that produce it. It can be, you guys have done practices for dentists that go into traditionally what dentists like to say oversaturated areas, and they've been successful. Is that accurate?
Highly accurate. Yes. 25, 30% under the ratio of 2001, which is a GP number that a lot of people use. I've actually heard people that are pretty well known in our industry say, if it's not 3,001, you should never open a practice. Okay, I've opened up 850 startups. Take that number down by maybe 650 of my personal number. That would be like, okay, great. So that means there's 500 to 600 less practices in America because they didn't go in the 3,001 ratio. Right. The other thing about ratios is think about the marketplace. You may go in a lot of hot areas that have ratios that support practices. Areas like, I think about like Austin, Texas, Houston, some of those fast growth areas that the numbers and the ratios say, this looks good. However, there's a lot of startups. What's happening is they're marketing hard within a marketplace. So you got to think about what's everybody else doing. Flip that around and say, what about areas that might be more established? Areas like the East Coast, Boston, these areas where we created awesome success stories, but doctors that are older, owners that are older that aren't actively marketing, aren't actively in their community, but the numbers are less. But the opportunity is greater, because
I think it's really great. I just want to pause you to interject, because I like themes with words. We have the D words, the data and demographics. We also have the R words of ratios, reports, and I'm going to talk about reframing, because if you're a dentist out there thinking, I got to move to this far off land, I can never do what I want to do, you're basically sharing, reframe, recenter your expectation, because some of these established areas may be great opportunities, sounds like you're saying.
100%, because the doctors may have been in their twilight of their career. They have established practices, established patient base, and the ratios may not be as great, but the opportunity is greater because they may not be actively marketing. I've gone in areas where doctors don't have active websites. They're not actively in your community, but in areas that we call pretty town, that everybody's flocking to. The young startups are there. Everybody's trying to slice up that pie, and the ratios may say, yes, go here. But the marketing, what everybody's doing, and like the dollars and cents pouring into that marketplace, you're going to be one of many startups competing against other people, even though the numbers say it's okay. So you got to see what everybody else is doing within the marketplace.
Awesome.
Yep. One of the big things that we, and I even go into more detail in this, in our book. So we for the Nacho community, I know I'm
really appreciate it.
So if everyone goes to idealpractice.com/nachos, we in our book for this month for Nachos community, we have our 1,000 book giveaway. It's $1.99. It's a $67 book on Amazon for the Nacho.
Your dentist people. It's another D word. Dentist, Stephen, they really love a deal. Not on their precious crown preps. Those are $1,500 works of art. But we've been sharing this already, and get this location book. It's so important. It's $67 for $1.99. I'll just say now, we'll talk more at the end. You can text IDEAL to 215-543-6454 or go to Ideal Practices. What was that website again?
idealpractices.com/nachos.
Awesome. Perfect, Stephen. So let's catch back up again and reframe. So number one was
desirability, the personal element. Second element is data, which is what is the data that supports the success of the practice. And thirdly, there's a theme here, Paul, the word of demographics, the third D of demographics. is the word demographics. So there wasn't a word called avatar until there was a movie about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So this is the avatar of the patient that you all love to see, because Paul, you want to treat different patients than the person that's across the street. So you need to define and find an area of abundance of the kinds of people that you would love to serve. So if you found an area, it's like, this is a great area and the numbers say this and this report says awesome, and you go there and it's a heavily Medicaid area that you don't want to serve, or maybe it's ultra high net worth or high income people, and you're like, oh, I don't connect well, then you're in the wrong marketplace. And practices are hard to move. I've done a lot. I've never put one on the back of a pickup and move it to the next town over.
You can't return a practice out of spite. That's a Seinfeld joke. You can't return a practice. And I think you're sharing there is so key. I want you to go back and remember, but I just think that when what you do and what Jamie does is amazing. And I know you hang around with Dennis and Rob Montgomery too, but you've never been in an operatory doing a filling. That's illegal. Maybe we can do dental fantasy camp one day. And I want to share with someone who's done this for 20 years. If you are in the operatory not with patients that you want to see, it doesn't matter how much money you're making. It doesn't matter what it is. It's not a good feeling. So there's no perfect patients, doesn't mean, but what you're sharing here has immense value, because finding the patient avatar that you want to see is a key to both the morale and the money you're going to make.
Absolutely. So you have to think about things like, what is there are elements in there. What is their socioeconomic scenario? Are you looking for mid, higher income? Male, female. So you're trying to find an area of abundance of the kinds of people that you would love to serve. The second element of that is, or kind of like sub of that demographics, that avatar, that ideal patient is, you need to create a marketing message, because marketing to my wife with three daughters is way different than marketing to somebody that's 65 years old that's looking for different dental care. So don't find yourself in the marketplace that someone said this is a great opportunity, and find yourself in the area you're like, I don't like my patients. And from someone like you said that's been chair side, I was in the chair yesterday, number 2 and 3 filling. True story, by the way. Feeling good today. But for somebody that's been there, you speak to the truth of that. You're like, wow, you needed to be in an area like, I love to serve my patients, because you only get this done once, and you can only get it done right as a startup. If you find yourself in the wrong area, you can't fix that. It can't be fixed. My team is great at doing startups, and we're great at being able to give I always say we're great at preventing, but not great at fixing. I can't fix something if you chose the wrong area with the wrong demographics, the wrong people, an area that you don't like, you don't want to go to. That is not repairable. So folks, everybody, go out there, define what these areas are. So love where you want to be, get the data that supports it, look beyond numbers, not just ratios, but what are they doing? And then thirdly, sit down tonight. Maybe you're watching right now and think about the 3 patients that you love. You write them down and write down those elements. I guarantee you, everyone's watching, you'll probably go, oh, I like ... And you'll see a common theme. Go to an area that has that abundance of those kinds of patients, and you'll be immensely, immensely happy.
Love this value share. It's so great. I mean, I'll just add to this. I work in Pennington, New Jersey. If someone wanted to do a startup there and just take your last one, they should go spend time in the town. Go to the local pizza place. You're going to see the people coming. You're going to see these are the people. When I walk out for lunch every day, we happen to have an older patient population, which I love, which is great for me. I love doing implants. But that might not be for somebody else. So love what you share there. Stephen, if someone wanted to reach out just to you to ask some questions, can you give your contact information, whether it's email, phone? What's the best way to reach out to Stephen Trutter?
The best way to reach out to me is Stephen with a PH. So Stephen at howtoopenadentaloffice.com. I know it's long. Stephen at howtoopenadentaloffice.com. And I mentioned more detail. So the book, I want to mention.
Tell me more about the book.
So our best-selling book, it's on Amazon for Nacho's community. It's $1.99. Awesome. It's a $67 book on Amazon. It's idealpractices.com/nachos. And in there, we have a multi-point checklist on demographics. So I go even deeper on that particular topic in that book. And that book really gives a ton of more detail that's there. And I'd be happy to reach out and talk with anybody, have these kind of questions. And I hope this was beneficial.
I think this is fantastic. Just the thing that I always say is, always be ABC, always be creative, always be caring, always be consistent. And you guys are doing just that, because what you're sharing in a positive, but a very realistic way is if you make an error in this decision, it can be very hard to unwind. And sometimes you're not even thinking about the area. You're thinking, are there enough patients? And you're telling people, you better like the area. You're thinking, I can do well, but do you even like doing this type of work? So I really appreciate it, Stephen. Looking forward to an awesome, fun year. Thanks for sharing with us.
Thanks, guys. Take care.